Good morning, Psych students. Happy Friday. Hope everybody's made it through the week okay. And what we'll be looking at today is going through the FRQ you did this week. I'll post another one today, and this will kind of be the tradition of what we'll be doing moving forward is you have a couple days to work on the FRQ, and then I want to offer some feedback and some advice and hopefully some helpful review as we head toward May 19th. So, unit the fifth review FRQ you guys have done. Yeah, I know it's getting repetitive, but yeah, I think practice makes perfect, and this is one of the best ways to prepare for the AP tests. In response to declining reading scores in local schools, John wrote an editorial suggesting that schools need to increase interest in reading books by providing students with incentives. Based on research showing a relation between the use of incentives and student reading, he recommended providing a free pizza coupon for every 10 books a student reads. Okay, that's the outline of the question. And I think one of the things I noticed with this week's FRQ is we really need to work on applications. Your definitions are fine, and to be honest, a lot of the definitions seem like they're straight off of Google, which, is bound to happen at this point. But, if I was grading these as hard as, say, the College Board, you guys would have lost a lot of points on applications because it was one of those things where the examples you provided really weren't up to par with what the College Board expects. Okay, there were quite a few examples that really kind of went off the rails in a totally different direction. You need to make sure your application game is really tight when it comes to the AP test. Okay, so let's just go through the terms. So let's read some books and get some pizza. Part A, explain how each of the following psychological concepts can be used to refute John's argument. Correlational research. Okay, so correlational research, we're just studying the relationship between two variables and whether, it's a positive correlation, meaning both variables are going the same direction, either increasing or decreasing together, or a negative correlation where there's an inverse relationship, one variable going up, the number of times I brush my teeth, the other variable going down, number of cavities I have, or, is there any relationship? And what the College Board was looking for on this one is you understanding that correlation is not the same as causation. Okay, so that, John's experiment or John's argument that, hey, if we just give kids pizza, they'll read more books. There might be a positive correlation between the two, but you can't say definitively that, hey, if we give kids pizza, they're definitely going to read more books. Okay, so that's one way. That's really what the College Board was looking for. You understanding and basically saying correlation is not the same as causation. Okay, causation is in experimental research where we manipulate the independent variable and that causes a change in the dependent variable. But just seeing if two variables are related to each other, we can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that one causes the other, one causes change in the other. So that's what they were looking for. You guys did a little better on the second term, the over-justification effect. So the over-justification effect, remember, sometimes we do things for intrinsic reasons. We have intrinsic motivation. We do it because we like it. Okay, and extrinsic motivation sometimes gets in the way. So the over-justification effect, the basic idea is, hey, you do something for intrinsic rewards, and if we give you an extrinsic reward, you're less likely to do that. Okay, you're less motivated to do it because it came from inside, at least initially. So in this case, a lot of you guys really hit the nail on the head with your response to this one. The idea that maybe kids who are already motivated to read because they enjoy reading, because they're like Nadia, who I think has read something like 27 books since quarantine started. If you add a reward to that, like pizza, maybe it makes them less motivated to read. Maybe something that they wanted to do just for themselves intrinsically, now that we added an extrinsic reward, they're less likely to do it or less likely to enjoy it. So that was one I think most of you guys did pretty well on. Okay, part B, explain how schedules of reinforcement can be used to strengthen John's plan. So let's review what the schedules of reinforcement are really quick. Okay, first you have a fixed interval schedule, or fixed interval reward based on time, okay, a set amount of time. So like a paycheck, you get paid every 2 weeks. That's a fixed interval schedule, okay? A variable interval schedule is based on a reward after a random amount of time. So we use fishing as an example. You could be out there for 6 hours, get nothing. You could be out there for 20 minutes and somehow catch 3 big catfish. Who knows? Okay, variable interval. Then you have fixed ratio, reward after a set amount of time, or sorry, set number of responses. Fixed ratio, set number of responses. So, every time I go to Speedway, I get a Mountain Dew. After 6 Mountain Dews, the 7th is free. Okay, or any kind of rewards program you have. You go to Starbucks 10 times, the 11th coffee is free, things like that. And then variable ratio, after a reward after a random number of responses, like slot machines. Okay, so you have all those. You could have talked about any of those. Most of you chose to talk about fixed ratio, okay, which makes sense because the idea is after every 10 books, you get pizza. That's a fixed ratio schedule after a set number of responses, or variable ratio might not work necessarily with this. Like I read 1 book, hey, I get a pizza. I read 27 books, I don't get anything. Okay, so talking about fixed ratio schedule and how this was set up be a good way of talking about schedules of reinforcement. Then part C, which was actually the longest part of the question, had 4 components. It was definitely a tough one. Some of these terms we definitely need to review a little bit right now. Belief perseverance, holding on to a belief or attitude even after you've been proven wrong. Okay, so explain how each of the following psychological concepts could influence a reader's view of John's argument. Well, belief perseverance is kind of just like being stubborn. Okay, even though it's been proven wrong, you cling to your belief no matter what. Okay, and so in one case, somebody would say, well, I don't believe reading is important to students, and therefore even giving them pizza, it's not going to matter. Well, I believe what I believe. My mother-in-law says, oh, no, this is just what I believe. I don't care what you have to say. Okay, so belief perseverance has to do with that. Central route to persuasion. Okay, central route to persuasion is the idea I'm going to use logic and facts and figures and stats, and I'm going to prove my point that way. So how would that influence a reader's argument or view of John's argument? Well, maybe the reader's very impressed by his pie charts and graphs showing that the more you read, the better your SAT scores are and things like that. Or maybe John provided some statistics that show kids who read more are likely to spend less time in jail, things like that. You can be creative with your responses to these FRQs. You just got to make up something that helps explain your point. That's the idea of the application. Part 3, retroactive interference. Remember, retroactive interference, new info gets in the way of remembering the old info. So you learn something new, now you can't remember the past stuff. How would that explain each of the phenomena? Well, let's say, or how would that explain readers' view of John's argument? Maybe John makes the point that we need to put this pizza program in place, and then someone says, you know what, I think we really need to focus on math instead of reading. Math is more important to kids. And now you can't remember anything that John said, okay, because all you're listening to is the new argument that math is more important than reading. And then finally, source amnesia. Source amnesia, you learn new information, but you don't know where it came from. Okay, the idea is that you've committed something to memory, but you no longer remember the source, hence source amnesia. So perhaps you read somewhere that, or you read the article that John published, reading is important, we need to get kids to read more, ... And you were really impressed and convinced, but now you think you heard it from Fox News or something like that. You don't remember where it came from, or maybe you don't like CNN and you think it came from CNN, so now you disagree with it because I think I heard this on CNN, and CNN, fake news, things like that. Okay, so that would be a good one. Again, be creative with your responses. That's source amnesia. Okay, so we'll do this again next week. I'm going to give you a new FRQ today, and you'll have a couple days to do it. We got the College Board reviews I've been publishing. Hopefully those are helping, and we'll probably do a survey at some point next week to see what we need to work on in the 3 weeks coming up. Okay, so have a great weekend. We'll see you again next week.